I like starting it off with a laugh.
Yeah,
It's
that's funny.
nice. Keeps some levity to this whole thing.
Yes,
Um,
and it's an important topic too.
yeah, it
So,
is. It is. It can get pretty heavy, and that's so. Welcome everybody. So we're gonna start with business owners. Have you ever wondered, does my branding, products, my ideas need protection? Do they need to be protected? Do I need a patent? And then also, have you ever asked yourself, how do I prevent other businesses from stealing my ideas? If you answered or have asked these questions to yourself or to anyone else, this episode's for you today. So I just want to welcome you to our podcast From Idea to Profit. I'm Tim, co-founder of the IP Resource, and I'm joined by this guy.
John, also co-founder of the IP Resource.
Well, hi,
There you
John,
go,
also co-founder of the
co-founders.
IP Resource.
Hi, Tim.
So this podcast From Idea to Profit is for inventors, business builders, people who want to protect, launch, and grow their products the right way. And today we're talking about something that has kept me up at night. I know that has kept other business owners up at night. And I know that, yeah, no, I think this is a big deal for a lot of business owners. And I think when it comes down to why it is because part of you knows that these questions are really not just hindering, but maybe even possibly killing your chances of success. And you just might not know how to navigate it. And that makes it even worse, right? And so I want to talk about the three major asset mistakes surrounding intellectual property in business that inventors and business owners make. This costs them thousands of dollars, even their rights to their own assets, and eventually even their business, right? Which is, well, yeah, it's terrible. So I want to talk about those three mistakes. And I also want to talk about how our community, the product pioneers community, will kind of be helpful and actually is helpful. So you can get the answers or the solutions to these three mistakes and get all your ducks in a row and get it right the first time. Well, John, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. I'll touch on the first part one, mistake number one. I think also too, looking at this, so Tim's the expert on the patent world and I'm more the marketing business development guy. So I'm going to approach some of my answers from my perspective, which is maybe a little bit different. But first mistake we want to talk about is filing without a thorough patent search. So when you apply for your provisional patent application, you have to do some research. You don't just throw it in there and submit it, and then hopefully it gets back to you. But what I want to point out to this is doing a patent search can be really time consuming. But aside from just uniqueness of your product, is doing the patent search, in my opinion, is essential to understanding the marketplace that you're in, your competition.
Very good point.
Is their widget as good as yours or better than yours? Is it identical? Now you have a real problem. How much of the market do they have? If they've been around for a while, you might not have a lot of space in there. So doing the patent search, in my opinion, which is the first mistake that people don't do, but also it's the first step you should do. But also you can learn a lot about the market you're headed into, be more intentional with more focus on what you need to do to stand out in this space, whatever that is in your
Yeah.
industry.
No, it's true. I think, right, knowing where you stand is extremely valuable, right?
Mhm.
And what better way to know where you stand than if you compare what what you understand you have. And I want to be careful with my words, right? Because the reality is you do have the answers, but you might not know that you have the answers, but you can apply what you think you know with the patent search, and you get to see what else is out there. You get to see how close you are to the bullseye and how far away you are. And also I think it's important to understand, right, that you do a patent search or prior art search, as it's also called, and you find out that, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people operating in this space, right? And a lot of people get defeated very easily because of that. And I usually take that the opposite, right? And you as a marketer, probably similarly, right? Because if you find out that there's a lot of people operating in this market, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you don't want to be in a market of one, right? Who are you gonna sell to yourself? What, And so it's pretty wild. Like, when you recognize that, oh wow, there are people operating in the same space, but then you also recognize when you see what other people have, you see what about what it is, the thing that's in your idea that sets it apart from everyone else. This is another thing that the prior art search gets for you. And I think it's very important for anyone who is choosing not to engage a professional patent attorney or IP attorney or agent, that they be very careful of how they do a search, right? Some people just use Google Patents or whatever. A lot of things can slip through the cracks there. And there's a lot of cut rate companies and softwares you can buy that can, do patent search. But again, you'll find that they'll be lacking in the long run. That's why we suggest and we promote patent search made simple. It was developed by one of the intellectual property attorneys on our directory. We've worked with him for many years, well over a decade. He and his firm do great works in the tech space, and they've helped a lot of our clients out. But they have developed this AI-driven patent search made simple, and it's something that we are licensed to offer to our clients, and we highly recommend it. The price point is very affordable, and it not only performs a basic prior art search, it searches white pages, it searches research papers, it searches all these other things that are currently happening. And not only that, and I know this sounds a little salesy, but I love talking about it because it's such a cool little tool. But the AI helps generate, keywords that are associated with your keywords. So if you say car, it's going to look for automobile, vehicle, truck, all these other words that are associated with it. And it really helps for a more complete search. So sales pitch over on that, but I can't talk enough about it. It's such a wonderful tool. And it's something that really does solve this first mistake very clearly.
Yeah.
Like, it's powerful. John,
Can I add just a little bit?
Yeah,
to that
go ahead. Please do.
The point that you pointed out is that it provides keywords. Again, getting back to like the whole process of knowing your audience. If you got, like you said earlier, a number of different people or businesses in that audience, there's obviously demand, right? But then if you're getting these keywords and you find your uniqueness where you stand out, then you can leverage those keywords in a lot of your content, which will drive more traction and more people to your platform.
Exactly right. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. It's very helpful. I want to jump into the second mistake, right? Which is not, and unfortunately, I know, John, I hate to, and so it's complicated, right? Because I don't want to say it can be complicated, and I can get why it's a little convoluted, because, well, unless you're in the space, how can you know? How would you know, right? But, I think some people understand what a patent is, maybe superficially, right? Like, it's a form of protection, right? But what a provisional patent is, and I'm sure people remember or know, they've seen products that says patent pending, or on the infomercials, right? That's the best, right? Infomercials, right? Like, check out this new doohickey or whatever, the flim flam, right? And then at the very end of their little fast talking speech, patent pending, right? Those words. And patent pending means that you have filed a provisional patent application with the USPTO, and you have 12 months to convert it to a formal patent. So what's the mistake, like, of not understanding it is, number one, that when you do file your provisional patent application or PPA, you don't have enforceable rights. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, Joe Schmo is using my thing and I need to stop them." Well, you don't. Until you have a formal patent, you don't have any legal right to stop them. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do anything, right? There's things you can do, especially by engaging an attorney. They can go over your options. But the reality of what the value of a PPA is a placeholder. And it gives you time to start operating in that marketplace, right? To start honing your brand message, your product message. It starts helping you even if you need to tweak your product itself, right? And you understand that when people start buying it, you get feedback, you realize, you know what, I can change some of this stuff to make it more palatable or marketable or whatever, right? So but the thing is, if you don't understand the PPA, right, you don't understand that, right, you can't enforce it yet, but also that's a placeholder, gives you time to do research, gives you time to get real world experience. But also because of that placeholder, right, you want it to be as full and complete as possible, right? Like you want to take your time at the beginning because you're setting like a pin in the ground, right? This is my starting point. This is my placeholder. And I want as many things listed as possible under the protection of this placeholder. Otherwise, you have to wait till you go formalize within that 12-month period. And then the clock starts, right? So, but if you've already released your product into the ether, right, to the marketplace, and you've exposed it, now you've also exposed your assets to other people and they're unprotected, which is very dangerous, right? So we want to make sure that your provisional patent is not vague, that it's not incomplete, and it has support. And because this placeholder is very important for your business, it's very important for your foundation, for your longevity and turning your business into a legacy. And so, John, do you want to take over, the awesome, exciting fix that we have for this mistake?
I was just thinking about that. So the process of filing for your provisional patent application or filing provisional patent application, if you're doing it on your own, it's could take hours of your personal time.
Days, even if you're doing all the research
Yeah.
yourself and everything.
Yeah. You add in the patent, the patent search as well, right? So, yeah, you're looking at literally it could take days to get it done. And then if you're and not being an expert or an IP attorney, you're not probably answering the questions in the proper manner. And so you want to, have this be as exact as possible, as Tim mentioned. You have to, it can't be vague or incomplete or not supported. If you don't do it right, then you could lose your filing date and then just have to start all over again. So the service, again, the same attorney that built the patent search made simple, he also produced a product called the patent pending made simple. A lot of patents and P's in it. And the time that you can do it, my client went through the process and she was not an expert. And I think it took her like 2.5 hours to go through the whole thing and file it. And then got results back rather quickly for the process. And it saved her a lot of time. Now, that didn't mean it was approved, but it gave her the point of what she needed to fix to go back and to take the further steps. It's not, the fix isn't always as simple as we like it to be. But she also used the service of a intellectual property attorney in that process. And the cost of that was, what does it cost? $400, right?
For the attorney review, as far as the package, is $400, which is a bargain.
And they're filing it for you under their
registration number.
License. Yeah. So, which is another benefit, because if you don't have that and doing it solo, I'm not sure if people are at the USPTO or they're pulling you out of the file, but you're definitely not going to be at the top of the file.
It is a first come first serve, because they have to, because we're a first to file system.
Yeah.
But the reality of why having a patent attorney's registration number associated with it is it's their butt, right? Because they're the ones who registered it. They're the the registered attorney. They're the ones who filed it on your behalf.
Yeah.
So versus because every person in this country as a citizen or a company, right, as an entity, either it's an individual entity or a group or a business, you can file a patent yourself. You don't need an attorney. But, if you file it yourself, it's a self-file kind of deal. You're 100% like kind of alone with that, right? Though when you have a patent attorney, especially if they know what they're doing, right, it's their butt that they're putting on the line. It's their skin. And so that should be a comfort to people who fill out this or to use this software to create their provisional patent application, that an attorney will review it, correct it, and then file it on your behalf using their registration number. And that the fact that they're willing to do it shows the validity of the software itself.
Two things that you noted, Tim. Yeah, it's pretty commonplace for us to speak about this, but the first to file, I think that's a lot of people out there. You're creating a new widget, but if you don't take this step and get this done properly and file it, somebody else could come right in behind you and beat you to the chase. And now you're really screwed.
Well,
Because
yeah.
you have no,
A little side note, right? Like, now, granted, we recently became a first to file system. We were always first to invent, which means that if you could prove that you invented something first through, through various forms of providences and things like that, different proofs, you could go to court and you could be the patent could be awarded to you, right? But they decided to change all that and just say, no, the first one who files is the one who wins. We're not going to mess up the courts anymore. We're not going to do this. I did this first kind of stuff. Filing a solid PPA, provisional patent application, before you launch a product is essential. Like, in the first to file system, because especially if your product is as valuable as you believe it is, right? If you send it out to the marketplace and your competitors see it and they have the means to copy it and protect it before you just took a massive hit on your market. And it's very, very good to stay on top of that, and to, when you're ready to launch, that you have that filed and you're under, again, it's not enforceable protection, but you have that placeholder protection, which is so valuable. And so, yeah.
Another thing too, I would point out with our product pioneers community is this is full of just normal people and businesses who are doing things. But there's also, we bring in attorneys for Q&As to pick brains. But when you have a community like this and you have people that have gone through the process, and you're maybe the new to the community and just starting the process, you could try to do this on your own. You might go really fast, but if you're working within a community with support, you can go a lot further through the process, and with a lot less headaches, with a lot less expense and time being wasted, if you will, just not knowing where to go and what to do. So that's why we built that community to help people through that. And Tim and I are in communities on our own, inside this business and outside and personal lives as well. And it's a huge help when you have people who can empathize and go through the processes that you're trying to get through.
Yeah. It's important for any business not to operate in a bubble, right? In a vacuum, right? And that's why we created a space that's encouraging and supportive, and also recognizes that although each individual entrepreneur has their own fight that they need to fight, in order to build that legacy business, we can still encourage one another, and we can still help each other out, right? Because nobody should be doing all of this alone. Like, that's a ridiculous mentality. But I want to move on to the third mistake. And John, I think this is something that, as the marketing professional, that you would be most equipped for. So tell us a little bit about this third mistake.
It's confusing. Now, I am actually going through this process right now. Tim and I both have businesses outside of the IPR resource, and I'm going through this with one of our vetted attorneys. And I can't tell you the time that he and his team are saving me is well worth the cost. But you want to also protect your trademark. You want to protect your logo, which is actually the direction I'm taking with my business, the side business. And because there is a lot of competition in that space with the same keywords in my logo, taking this direction that they provided, and I won't try to explain it, and we don't really have the time to get into the weeds of that, but it saved me a lot of time, saved me a lot of headaches, and I'm just now waiting for the results to come back. But your brand, your trademark can be the name of your company, right? But but when you talk about the brand too, you want to be doing what you can to protect your brand. And brand can be translated into many different ways. So brand is commonly now known to the environment of the company you're working for. It's the mindset of the business. It's the ethics of the business. The culture. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, the culture of the business, which is essential. And that culture, those are your talking points when you're out there at a Chamber of Commerce meeting and meeting people and shaking hands and people asking what you do. You want to be able to talk to them about the culture of your business and your story and what you're doing. So, and the more you can solidify that and protect what you can, the better off you'll be. Nike, there's one brand, right? There's a whole different division of Nike specifically for Air Jordans,
Mhm.
and they're still making them.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest profit centers. Michael Jordan doesn't play basketball anymore. They're still making more shoes for him, but he's not playing professional ball. But that's another example of like a sub brand of a bigger brand,
Mm.
and Michael Jordan's, you wouldn't be able to create a Michael Jordan product out there. I'm sure that's highly protected
No.
name.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even get close to it. Is quit while you're ahead.
Even anything derivative, you have to be careful, right?
Yeah. But you need to be thinking about that, though. The logo, I used to be in the mindset that logos were important. That perspective has changed since I'm trademarking my logo, thanks to Tim, who created it for me. And I've gotten a ton of compliments on it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm excited. But now, the logo does represent your brand, does represent your culture of your business, and it needs to be strong. It needs to stand out, and it needs to have the same differentiation that you have with the products that you're serving.
Yes.
If your logo looks just like somebody else's logo, yeah, man,
Uh,
it's easy to get confused,
you know,
especially in an algorithm like Google that just spits everything out at you that's close to what you want to find.
it's you bring up a good point because, well, especially this is my space, right? Design.
Yes.
I've been a designer for all my life, and but yeah, but logo design, it's got to be representative of you, like what the culture you're building, the mission of your business, the culture of your business, and it's that creates a unique thing. If you, I've had clients come to me to help ask for a logo design, and I say these are the logos of other people operating in my space. I'm like, why would you even consider this? Like, why? What? No, it's no, 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 no.
Yeah.
You don't go that direction at all. In fact, you stay away from all that. And they're like, well, I want the logo to show what I do. Like, no, no, no. You use the logo to show who you are, right? And people will figure out what you do. Like, it's the who you are, the culture, the principles that you stand for, and the mission that you're doing. All of those things come into play. But it's very important, yes, that you protect it, and I think I'd like to add on a few things, right? Because in my experience, why protecting your trademark is important, whether it's a logo or slogan or product name. That's another one people miss is you name if you have several products, like, what would the iPhone or the iPod or whatever be if they weren't those things, right? You just call it the Apple phone. That'd be weird, So but they have their own identity, right? Like that's important.
Yeah.
And that's the whole
It's,
point, right? You say, I have an iPhone. Okay, great. I mean, no, that's like it's become a thing, right? And so, but
culture.
yeah, it is. It's the culture. And so, but yeah, doing a trademark search or even, or like I said, hiring an attorney from our directories, I would highly recommend that. It just simplifies the process. Yeah, the money, there's this, a decent amount of money involved, but it's worth it. And especially when it comes to your business, like you want it to be properly cared for. And the other thing is, again, I bring up again, and I don't mind talking about it too, is in our community, the product pioneers community, having conversations like this of, okay, when is it a good time to start thinking about trademarking your business name, your logo, your slogan, your product names, etc. Well, because listen, not everyone gets, like a windfall of funding when they start a business. In fact, most people have to make very savvy decisions when they're in a startup position, right? When they're going through these, they have to make decisions. What is the most strategic way to proceed, right? But these are some of the conversations that we have from a business perspective in the product pioneers community, where we can help you understand when would be a good time in the hierarchy of your business, as you're in the startup process, as you're divvying out funds, as you're starting off. It's something that should be on your radar, but yes, the timing is important. And it's we can get into that and we can have those conversations, and these Q&A times are very valuable for those kinds of conversations.
Yep.
I think, yeah, lastly, I want to discuss this last little bit. It's kind of like a culmination, right, of savvy business and savvy marketing, branding. This, you're the one who brought up branding. You're the one who brought up trademarks and things like that. And one of the reasons why it is such a valuable thing to do, especially at the beginning, is if it's okay. I'm trying to remember an example of one of our clients, and I don't want to give away too much, but I'll just give you a hypothetical. It might be easier. So let's say someone did create the new Flim Flam, right? And it was like the greatest little widget or product ever made, right? And everyone's excited about it, right? And let's say it was called, the A1. And everyone's like, oh, I can't wait for the A1 to come out. Can't wait for it. And all of a sudden, because you didn't protect it, the A1 comes out, but it's not yours, someone else's. And it's an inferior product. And then not only that, they actually trademarked it. So you can't use A1 anymore, but you were hyping up this A1 thing now, but all your traffic's going to another company. So you're like, shoot, so I'll call it the 1A. And guess what? You have now branded yourself as the imitator. And so the reason why I bring up this hypothetical is because one thing the first thing you do by not protecting your assets, whether it's through patents or trademarks or copyrights, the first thing you do is you ruin the trust that you have with your clients, with even your potential customers. And so it's very important that in order to build trust, you have that kind of consistency. In order to maintain that consistency, you need to secure your assets of your business so no one else can touch them. It's the only way. It's the only way to ensure that when you offer a product that no one else people are going to imitate, because if it's a valuable thing, people are going to imitate it. But people need to know what the valuable product is, right? It's like, well, of course everyone knows like knockoff, like the Gucci that has 3 C's or whatever. But like, it's, but like, that's kind of the deal, right? It's like, oh, at a distance, it looks like the exact same thing. But then you get closer and you can see the 3 C's. You're like, oh, that doesn't look right. And then the biggest thing is, listen, you have a Gucci bag, it'll last you forever, right? But if you have a Gucci Chi bag, it lasts a couple months before the stitching starts falling apart. So, but the whole point is, again, you want to build this trust with your current customers, your future customers, build a trust of value and a culture of value and reliability with your audience. And so protecting your assets is very valuable. I don't say valuable. It seems like it's diminishing. It's essential to do this, right? And then also it gives you the foundation to build and scale your business. And so that's to me is like the biggest. These are the biggest points of why securing your assets in your business are so paramount.
All good points.
So yeah, that's it. Those are the 3 mistakes, and those are the 3 solutions that we find to be the most effective in our own businesses and in our clients' businesses. And I hope that was helpful. And John, is there anything else you'd like to add as we're closing up this time?
I just encourage you to go to our website and check out our services, specifically the patent search made simple and the patent pinning made simple. Get that process going, and our product pioneer community where you get all the support you need.
Yes. If you guys, if anyone listening to this has any questions about the Product Pioneer community or any of our Made Simple products or any of the other things that we are offering over at the IP Resource, feel free to book a call. We'll put the link in the description here, and book a call with us, and we will hop on that. And we'll go over everything that we are doing, everything that we are offering, and even we have some future offerings that are coming up soon that I think would be super exciting. I'm excited about it. That's because I know about it, but I know as soon as other people know about it, they'll be excited too.
Yep.
So, all right. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for showing up.
Have a good day. Stop.